50-year mortgages. Oh, this is such a fun conversation to have. If you hadn't heard, Trump has floated the idea of having 50-year terms on mortgages, and some people think it's a great idea, some people think it's a terrible idea. I think the intent is good to make housing more affordable for more people, and I wanted to run through some of the numbers and the implications of a 50-year term on a mortgage versus a 30-year. So I have a mortgage calculator here, and this is not an endorsement of this particular mortgage calculator. There are many of them out there, and as far as I know, they're pretty much all just as accurate as the next one. So let's walk through this. Let's say the home is $500,000, pretty much the average home price in Kootenai County right now, a little bit lower than the average actually. Let's put your down payment at 20%. The interest rate, let's use 6%. 30-year term for now, and for the sake of this, let's go 0 property tax, 0 insurance. I know that that is not how real life works, but it will let us compare apples to apples. Calculate that. Your payment on that, so $500,000 home purchase, 20% down, your payment is going to be $2,398, so $2,400 a month. $2,400 a month for a 30-year term. Also, another important number to look at is this one right here. That is the total interest paid, $463,000. So you're going to pay $400,000 in principal and $463,000 in interest. Now that's assuming you make all the payments at the scheduled time and that you have the mortgage for the full 30 years. So let's see what happens now when we go to a 50-year term. So the only number we're going to change here is a 50-year term. So the payment goes down to $2,105, call it $2,100 a month. So your payment is $300 less, but now you have a term of the loan that's 66% longer. Is that worth the trade-off? I'll just tell you, to me, it's not worth the trade-off. I'd rather have a 15-year than a 30-year loan. You even get better interest rates with those. So a $300 a month savings, not really a savings, but less of a payment per month. But look at this number as well. Total interest paid, $863,000. You're going to pay that $400,000 loan back and an additional $863,000. That is a lot of money, and that's because interest is front-loaded. So up here, the large blue bar here, that's the interest, and then the principal is the tiny one at the bottom. And that's just the way mortgages work. In order to have a consistent payment over time, the interest is much, much heavier up front. And that's why that interest is so high, the interest over time. And this is also why mortgage companies love for you to refinance every 7 years, if they can get it as often as they can get it, because then that interest payment is much higher than the principal payment at the beginning, again, at the beginning of the loan. All right, so one other thing I wanted to do, and I haven't done this before, so I'm not exactly sure what these numbers are going to be. I want to see what we would have to do to get the payment down to that same amount, but by buying a more inexpensive home. So we're going to go back to a 30-year term, and let's go to $450,000. So you're going from a $500,000 house to a $450,000 house. We're going to leave 20% down payment. Now, if you were to use the number, if you were to use the down payment amount and keep that consistent, that would even work more into our favor. So we're going to look at a worst case scenario here. $450,000, same interest rate, 30-year term. Where are we at on payment? $2,158. So we're actually almost there. Let's go to $440. Let's see where we get there. There we go, $2,110. We'll call it good. So if you can, instead of buying the $500,000 house, buy the $440,000 house, and again, it's 20% down. If you were to keep the same down payment amount, I don't want to do the math in my head, but you'd be able to buy a more expensive house. Let's call it $450,000. So you're looking at a $440,000 to $450,000 house. Then your payment doesn't change from the 50-year mortgage, and you're only paying that $407,000 in interest over the life of the loan. So I personally don't love the idea of 50-year mortgages, if you hadn't already guessed from how I've handled this video, but that's up to you. That's up to you to decide. I could also say I don't like 30, I prefer 15. Well, That's fine, but that's harder for people to afford. So I like the idea behind the 50-year mortgage. I like the sentiment behind it, but I just don't think the numbers work. I just don't think it's beneficial. Let me know if you disagree. I love to have debates. I love to have discussions. So if you disagree with me, let me know. You can tell me in a comment. You can call me. You can text me. And as always, I would love to be your go-to for all your real estate needs in Kootenai County. So feel free to reach out, and I'll see you next time around.